What's going on, Benchwarmers? I am your host for this episode, Nico Nick. Unfortunately, Eric cannot make it to today's recording/episode. So we are on Zoom, good old Zoom, our good old friend. So obviously, I'm joined by here Diego. What's up, Diego?
What's up, guys? Diego Statro.
I'm joined by Marco.
Yo.
And our fourth, Dijk. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Honestly, we have a lot to talk about today, especially about yesterday. It was fun, but very grueling, particularly a body part all the way at the bottom of our body.
For the people
The feet,
who don't
the
know what the fuck we did, what was
The feet,
yesterday?
not to sound like sus or whatever. The feet.
For the people that don't know what we're talking about, what was yesterday?
Yeah, you gotta make it quick, man.
The feet. But yeah, no. Premier League games this past weekend, big one. So, but before we get on to this, you can follow us on all social media platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. TikTok, Benchwarmers FC1. You can watch all our videos on YouTube, Benchwarmers FC TV, and you can listen to all our podcasts on all podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple, Google Play, Benchwarmers FC. So, with that out of the way, all right, guys, let's talk about yesterday. Honestly, all of us four attended the fan fest, so I mean, it's nice to have everyone
Bro, you left it so sus at the beginning. They're like, "Oh yeah, everything hurts, especially down there." I'm like, "The fuck are you talking about, bro?" That's why we went to the fan fest yesterday. That's why we're tired.
I said all the way at the bottom of our body.
You started off at the bottom, so I don't know.
I said feet.
After, I don't know what you did after 3 p.m. yesterday afternoon.
Fucking go to sleep for 14 hours, motherfucker. But yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, we attended the Premier League Fan Fest in Philadelphia yesterday, the 16th of October. And yeah, I mean, Diego, if you want to take it away.
Of course, man. I'm over here looking at some notes for our fantasy segment later, which I'll be doing thanks to the help from some notes from Gats. FanFest was incredible. I think it probably is going to be the record holder for a good long time. I was just reflecting a little bit. The first one that I had gone to personally in 2017, that was in Chelsea Market in New York. It was the second floor of, I forget what building, but there was probably no more than 500 people there. There probably wasn't, because it was just like we went upstairs, and then it was like a big open space, and they had some little areas where you could, a little booths for merchandise, and then some setups on the other side. It was almost like a U shape, if I remember correctly. And the guys were just there. Robbie Musto and Mark Clattenburg was there too. But the crowd that showed up this weekend, man. And then yesterday, Sunday, we walked in and they had confirmed that they had close to 14,000 people, which was incredible. It was incredible. And I think it was worth it. I think I was there early. I went with my pops, and we were in line. And that was pretty great. It was great, even just to be chatting there with other fans, other like-minded people, seeing those fans, seeing the fan clubs, the supporters groups for all the other clubs, and then getting inside. The City Hall building is beautiful as it is, and having it decked out with all of like the gear and the signage, the lights, the music. I think it was great. And I want to pull you guys in. I want to know what you guys thought, it being one of the first experiences with a fan fest like that. So I know you guys came in all together, and so I think hearing that experience, not just for myself, but for our listeners, on what your first time reactions were, it would be interesting. So maybe Josue, since you're smiling, I think you can start with just telling us what you felt, what you thought, just walking up to City Hall at like almost 5 a.m.
So once we started approaching City Hall, we heard chanting, and then I looked in the lines, and it was a bunch of United fans, and I'm like, damn, I'm gonna regret this already. So I was like,
did say that.
I did say that, and then you called me by phone because apparently you spotted us, and I'm like, shit, he fucking heard me, didn't he? But all in all, it was a great experience. Yeah, standing for what 10 plus hours, it was brutal. It was brutal, to the legs, to the low back, to the feet, for some people. But the experience was just fun. I mean, I'm a Spurs fan. To be around a bunch of other Premier League fans, doesn't matter who they support, Arsenal, United, Newcastle. I even saw a Brentford fan there, as well as Norwich City. It just shows the popularity of the EPL here in the eastern region of the United States. And 14,000 people came around. I mean, I could believe that number, to be honest. I thought it was just going to be like in the low thousands, no more than maybe 4 or 5. But to have 14,000, I mean, I hope they didn't read that wrong. Like maybe it said 1,400, but 14,000, that's incredible. And I had a lot of fun. I know you guys had a lot of fun, but it'll definitely be a while until I go to the next one, because standing for 10 plus hours, it does work the body a lot. So
yeah, so it looks like Josue's legs and feet left a little sore. But Marco, what did you think about the Fan Fest?
I mean, we were this close, and by this close I mean centimeters. Like, I'm literally not going. Edgar reached out to me. He was like, you see, Eric doesn't really want to go. He's making me doubt because we have to be there so early. I'm like, bro, if you want to go, I'll go. Like, I'm down. Like, you were sure? I'm like, yeah, let's go. Like, who else wants to go? I'm like, I don't know. And then I reached out to you. You and I were talking, and you said Josue's down to go. Nick had already had a conversation with Edgar. He said he wanted to go, so we all said, fuck it, let's meet up at 3:45, and we'll leave. Of course, throughout the night, they started texting saying at 3:00, I'm gonna go pick you up, Nico. Let's meet at 3:30. But I said 3:45. And what time did I show up? 3:50. But okay, you know what? Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. I had to drop off the kids at the pool, and it took me a little longer than expected. So, but we headed out. Edgar had Edgar was well prepared. He had coffee. He had
water.
We had water. He had muffins for us. Like,
hey, he's the dad, man. He's the dad.
He's gonna be a dad too, so he was well prepared. And we started driving off, and we started talking about our conversation started with what route you're gonna take. And while he was searching, because I told him one way versus the other, I think his GPS kind of like went cuckoo and started taking us back roads. So I think we lost like 10 minutes on just pure back roads, because instead of like hopping on Route 18, like would take us down to like
right,
like a normal person,
turnpike, and then just drive down. Like, we went through the back roads of like Somerville,
Somerset, Hillsborough, New Brunswick.
Like New Brunswick. We ended up all the way at the end of North Brunswick, which is like far down Route 1. So I'm like, we're basically in Princeton now, just on back roads. But it was perfectly fine. We were chatting all the way there. Nobody fell asleep. Like, I know. As for experience, with you guys maybe not, but with the other guys, they know that I am the worst co-pilot in the world, because I will fall asleep. This case, I mean, Diego, you and I have gone on a trip before to Baltimore, and even though you passed out, I also fell asleep the drive down. So, I'm the worst co-pilot. But we were chatting it up, bro. We got there, we parked immediately. The lines was long when we showed up, and by the time we made it, it grew. In 5 minutes, it grew, I want to say 3 blocks.
That's
and by
crazy.
the time we got in, the line still wrapped around the building. And that we're talking about, I want to say each side 3-4 blocks.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
So we stood in line for an hour and a half, which honestly, I don't know about you guys, except for Nico. I think Nico was a little cold. But for I didn't really feel the hour and a half go by. Because we were all bullshitting. We were all chatting about anything and everything. So by the time we made it in, we got coffee, breakfast, had to wait for another 3 hours for the first game. But honest to God, like, I really didn't feel the time go by, because we started seeing people walk in. We started walking around through the booths. Nice.
Hey, yo,
And
Nick,
stuff like
yo.
that. Yeah.
I wanted to check the. I'm on the Embassy Sports Fans Fest trying to look at photos, and I click on the Philly cheesesteak derby at PL Fan Fest. I'm so sorry.
But yeah, overall, like the Josue said, it was an amazing experience. I would definitely do it again, just not soon.
Not soon.
I'm down tomorrow, bro.
This is definitely something around like once a year type of thing. Like when they're in the East Coast, if it's worth it to definitely do it, I highly recommend it. And I'll definitely maybe do it next year again. Let's see where time has us next year.
Well, I'm gonna pull you guys in on some other stuff about the Fan Fest. We're gonna take some time to chat about it because I think it was pretty historic. Nick, it being your first experience, Liverpool City being the marquee match of the weekend. How did you live those moments? And start with your reactions on getting to Fan Fest and what your overall experience was like before you get into the game.
Before I get into how many Fan Fests is there per season? Is it 1, 2?
In the beginning, there used to be just one, but now I think they're trying to do 2 per year, like one in like the fall and then another one around like the springtime and probably the States, like the West Coast where it's much warmer.
Okay. The line itself, I haven't been in much lines like that in my life, but I thought the intern process was decent. I don't know what you guys thought, like the whole.
I thought it was pretty smooth.
I feel
yeah,
like they learned from their mistakes from the day before because they started checking us in they came to us to check us in, so that only what we have to do is show the bracelet and open our bags if we got a bag. Like they were well prepared.
Yeah, no, it was surprisingly very smooth. Yeah, like you said, they came and then we just waited until in the line. Like was an hour. Was it an hour and a half?
Yeah, man.
Wasn't I mean, I think we got there. We got in line at 5:15, and then we got in like at 6:15, 6:20. So almost.
That went by fast. I can't even lie. And when we got there, literally like 5 minutes, Edgar goes to like take a peek around the corner of the building, and it's like all the way down, bro. I'm like, yo, that's crazy. Like, even if you like just walk slower, we could have been all the way back there.
Yeah.
But the overall Fan Fest experience, it was nice. The particular part, like maybe the second half of it, where everyone's just like grouped up, watching all the games together. I think that was a dope experience. One thing I wish I would have talked with like other like fans more. I don't know. I feel like I kind of regret like not talking to like other fans, other clubs, and like what they think or whatnot, because obviously we were surrounded by Chelsea fans, United fans, Arsenal fans, et cetera, et cetera. That's one thing I wish I kind of like. Damn, I kind of wish I did that. But the overall, like the way they set it up, it was smooth. It was very smooth. I very enjoyed it. And the part of the City Liverpool game, I kind of wanted to go away from the crowd because, first of all, I felt kind of uncomfortable with my feet. I wanted to sit down, and that soccer ball in the middle, that shit coming in clutch. I'm not gonna lie. So I just sat down. But yeah, no, it was great. It was a great experience. And honestly, bro, next year if it's somewhere near East region or whatever, I'm down to go again. It was nice. It was good.
How did it feel to live that moment? Okay, bring us to that moment. Alisson grabbing the ball. He spots the run, he launches it, and then you're obviously you're with Edgar next to you. There were some other Liverpool fans right next to you guys too, and then a few around us, along with City fans sprinkled in. What was going through your head, not just for the game, but for the atmosphere that you lived in that moment?
When Salah was through 1v1, I was just took quiet. Like I didn't like because like he obviously missed a 1v1 prior when Ederson saved it.
Yeah.
And when he scored, I was like, that shit like blew up. I didn't expect it to go like, obviously I expected because it was obviously a big game and Liverpool scored and there's a lot of Liverpool fans there, but I was like, yo, like mad loud. Like Edgar was holding on to me. And then like a couple of minutes later, Marcus started trolling me with fucking Henderson and let's go. like literally after the 85th minute, I'd say Marco was just trolling us, dude.
Bro, I couldn't stop. The minute Hendo walked in, it was just an open field for me, just such shit talking. It wasn't like bad. It wasn't like I really was shit talking, but I just wanted to like say shit that will kind of like not annoy Nick, but at least make him like not pay attention too much to what's going on, but to the stupid shit that I'm saying. But that game, the first half was a little. To me, it was decent, but I personally enjoyed the second half a lot more because I think it was like there was a lot more competition and it felt like more aggressive
Yeah.
and everybody wanted it more and the fouls were coming in. It would be a little bit more I don't know, it was just more entertaining and watching Nunez miss after miss after miss after miss. Like
Four times.
bro, I think the last one I bursted out laughing and I kind of sounded like I think I feel like it sounded like a squeal.
No,
I know Diego took it because Diego was recording me when I started laughing.
I have it on
hard
video, man.
that I made Edgar laugh and we were cracking up because it was so bad. Like this guy did everything. All you had to do was a pass, and when he decided to do the pass, he ends up hitting the ground, which causes him to go to hit the ground himself. So I was like, "Come on, man! Like you fucking idiot, bro!" But nah, this game specifically was like hella fun to just watch and seeing quote unquote Man City fans. Some of them really salty. Like
that one guy, bro.
That one guy that was,
I was like
poking at Edgar.
Bro, Edgar was just like, bro, I'm bantering, bro. Like, why are you taking this shit so serious? And he was insulting the shit out of Edgar.
For real, he was cursing up a storm and everything.
I know, but that's what I'm glad you guys brought that up because I feel like there are some fans that on the subject of bantering, I feel like some fans just don't know how to banter, and so they try to stick it to the other person just by being overly aggressive or whatever. But I don't know if you guys caught that he was bragging about. We didn't get his name, so obviously like whatever. It's just like some guy that was there.
It's Mojo.
But he was
like 9,000 people.
He was like, yeah, I've been a City fan. I've had a season ticket for 25 years, and it's like,
why you do a year then?
And I was like, does he know? Like, he has to say 25 years because City are the only team that got relegated and the Premier League's been around for 30. Of course, it's only been for 25 years because your team was terrible. And that's not a brag. It's not a brag. You're literally telling us that you started being a fan once they came back up. Like, come on. They've been around for longer than that. And probably he looked much older. So clearly, like, whatever. I just think on that subject, I feel like some fans they could take some work on learning how to banter each other to make sure that like it doesn't come off like he was just so aggressive. But back on the 3v1, back on Darwin Nunez messing up like these quality chances that like and then I do remember Nick was like, oh man, like just to like highlight that he was like, I just want Nunez to get this, like please just take everybody on, like do what you got to do. And he was doing it, and then at the very end he would just make the worst decision possible, which I don't like. It was almost like a blood rush to the head, and I didn't understand that at all. But listen, 1-0 incredibly, and I hate to say this, but it has to be a credit given, incredibly, Van Dijk keeps his Premier League home record intact against the robot.
What is that now?
I think it's
60 something.
BR Football posted it. Let me see. Let me check that real quick. Give me 5 seconds if IG wants to load.
I think
63 or 68.
IG is loading.
I feel like 68 is the number that came up. For some reason, I feel like my head has seen that number 68 before.
But
I think you've seen 69, but
it was what?
69.
Okay, cool. 69.
That was probably Van Dijk's game where I've seen the most like talk about that record going away. Like not even like City games in the past or like other teams who were like in incredible form to Anfield.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the game where obviously because just good reason why obviously Erling Haaland, absolute fucking cyborg, City incredible team, and Liverpool are in terrible form as expected. I thought Liverpool defending was like phenomenal. Obviously, like I wouldn't say it's an absolute defensive masterclass because a defensive masterclass is when you limit the opposition team to 0 chances. And against Man City, I don't care what team you are in the past. If you're prime AC Milan, if you're Jose Mourinho's Chelsea, you're not limiting Man City to no chances. That's just impossible. This Man City team. But I think the amount of chances that they did create, I don't think they were clear-cut chances apart from maybe that Erling Haaland header that went straight to Alisson. But in terms of actually preventing City creating clear-cut chances, I thought Liverpool dealt that pretty well. And what I've noticed is, I think Klopp stuck to like just keep his players and their roles simplified for this game. So he just stuck with the basic 2 banks of 4-4-2 defending, and that 4-4-2 shape was phenomenal. Like every place, like Firmino, Milner, et cetera, was every player was in the place where they needed to be. And particularly the back four, I thought Joe Gomez and Van Dijk, particularly Joe Gomez, who the past, I'd say ever since he's been fit, when he's been played at center back, he's been kind of shaky. This game, he was phenomenal. Like it was just like prime Joe Gomez in that league title winning season where he just cleaned everything up, used his recovery pace with his ability, and just very methodical in his play on the ball. And just overall, I think Liverpool's just game was just built on just defensive stability and just making sure you limit City to that. All right, if City get here, you have a player. For example, like Diogo Jota, like the amount of tracking back he did on Joao Cancelo was crazy. Like I've never seen like that was just like a prime Jurgen Klopp winger, just hard work, like a prime Jurgen Klopp, Diego Simeone winger, where your main job is to obviously get the ball and progress it up the field, but your second, as important job is to track your fullback and make sure he doesn't overlap/underlap. And I thought Diego Jota did a phenomenal job with that. Even Harvey Elliott, who doesn't have the physical stature of maybe a defensive-minded right mid, but he put a shift in. He put an absolute shift in. I think that was probably, if you ever seen a game of Harvey Elliott to his best defensive ability, that game will probably be the best you'll ever see, because I think that's probably his cap and his ceiling when it comes to the defending side of the game for him. But it was just like, stick to your basic roles and then see what happens. And if the game ended 0-0, I thought the game was entertaining as fuck, in my opinion. Like I thought it was very entertaining. Like the particularly Marco said the second half, the whole Pep Guardiola thing, the Jurgen Klopp thing, when Salah fucking pushed down Bernardo Silva and they all fall back. Like I thought the game was entertaining in terms of like footballing terms. Both teams created chances. Both teams were in transition, and both teams had a clear opportunities to try to score. So yeah, no, the game was phenomenal, and yeah, that's.
What did you think?
Quick question though, you guys, for the first half, were you guys in the big crowded area or no?
No.
We watched the whole game right where by the soccer ball.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Because I wanted to. I was very curious to see how like that atmosphere was on the other side.
Well, it must have been crazy. Most of them were Liverpool people there.
Yeah, most of them were Liverpool fans. Yeah.
Yeah, but on Darwin though, people see it as shit play. I see it as controlled chaos, baby.
He
He
had that written down. He had that written down for tonight. That's why.
I see it as controlled chaos.
There's
because
no control of that chaos.
Because chaos has no control, but Darwin somehow controlled it. So at the final end, it was chaos.
Controlled it. He made things worse.
William Shakespeare.
He made it worse for the team by not passing the ball that could have given them more goals, which would have allowed him to control more of the game.
So the first part he controlled it, right? And then the final decision, he did not control it. So the first part was controlled. The second part was chaos. Controlled chaos.
Did he come in the second half?
Here, baby. Exactly. So the first part, him dribbling,
which he wasn't part of.
He was. When he came on, he was dribbling. He took on Manuel Akanji. He skinned the right back. I see it as controlled chaos. Resilient, yeah. Honestly, there are honestly shit signs and bad and good signs of that Darwin. That the 3v1 was very worrying how he never picked up his head. At once,
I think that's something that he can learn eventually. Like I think he's a selfish player, but I think that they'll give him enough shit that the next time he will analyze it better. Because there's times to be selfish, like the last one when he tripped, but there's times that he has to play for his team and pass the ball. And I mean, Salah had one. One that he hit it straight to Edison, and he could have passed it to Jota, and Jota could have just tapped it in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the first half. So everybody has it.
I honestly think, well, yeah, everybody has it, of course, but I feel like everybody has it more, especially at a big game like this in your own atmosphere. A game against your rivals. So if I were to be honest, Darwin Nunez, I feel like his selfish moment came in that game against Man City. If they were going up against maybe Bournemouth or some lower tier team, I don't think he would have been selfish. I think he would have passed the ball. I think he wanted to feel that energy from the stadium of him scoring a goal, especially.
He hasn't scored at Liverpool. He hasn't scored at Anfield yet. So I mean, it could be, but still, obviously, a shit decision at the end. So yeah,
controlled chaos. He made chaos worse.
controlled it, baby.
So
honestly, in terms of that final action, he was incredible. He was literally skinning City's right back every time because he's just faster and stronger.
He actually was. He was beating out that defensive line.
There was a moment that Bernardo Silva was in the back because I think he needed somebody with speed in the back, so they put him in the back as a back two. If you watch the last 5 minutes, Bernardo Silva was in the back playing as kind of like a defender.
The moment that Salah was basically carrying Bernardo, and they didn't call that as like a blatant foul, I think that was probably the moment where I felt at least like, man, this is a great game. Like this is good. This is getting crazy. And then around the time that was leading up to the Klopp red card and everything aside from the football sense, I thought it was a great match to wrap up everything that the Fan Fest was about, because that match is going to stay in people's heads for probably a long time. And shout out to Lance that we met while we were lining up. My pops, and myself, and he was saying that everything lined up very quickly. That they were very excited that the fixtures kind of borrowed themselves for this to be a great weekend, and the space that they had so much more capacity. It was just something that he described it as stars aligning for it to be a massive event, which was great. So shout out to Lance. It was nice to meet him. Also, Marco, you were able to get your Arsenal jersey signed by the legend himself.
Ian Wright, bro.
By the legend himself, Ian Wright. Shout out to Ian Wright. He was an absolute gentleman at the end, because, one thing that I was in... While they were wrapping up, the two Robbies and Ian Wright were having like a little wrap-up session. They were just talking about just football in general, and Ian was sharing some of his knowledge with as far as like the movement, and they were recapping the Liverpool City game. These guys are also on their feet for that full 10 hours, and they have dress shoes, on. So I thought, like, looking at that and then seeing their demeanor afterwards, to be friendly, to sign shirts, to sign balls. Marco is, can you hold that up again to the camera real quick, just so you could focus it? There we go. They were giving out these really cool righty pins, these enamel pins of him with his jersey and the jersey number on the back. The Cooligans, shout out to the Cooligans. If you guys listen to this, we were able to catch up with them at the end too. Christian and Alexis, congratulations, guys, for making it onto that big of a stage and that momentous of an occasion. Like I had told them, and Marco and I were chatting with them. Hopefully there's going to be a lot more Cooligan fans after that, after seeing them work the crowd and work their humor and just picking on people. There was this moment where Alexis was like, yo, what's good with this dude? And he straight up had sandals in 50-degree weather. Like, his dogs were out in like fresh air.
And shorts. And shorts too.
And
bro, he was all red too. Like, you saw him, like, he was cold, but he was just like, fuck it, I can't do it.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a really nice moment seeing them go up on stage, share the essentially the podium, even though it's a desk, but share the podium with Rebecca, the Robbies, Tim Howard. Also, shout out to Rebecca. She was great. And I just think, like, the mascots, the activations, the shirt press, the mini field. I will say, though, the one gripe, I feel like they could have done a little bit better with the food, because it looked like it was all just the same kind of sandwich bread with just different stuff in it for breakfast and lunch. But I also say that knowing that they probably had to pick something that could feed 10,000 or more people. So we can't be very picky there.
Yeah.
We can't be very picky there. I was able to talk with Ana Yurka from Telemundo. So if she does see this, very, very grateful for having that conversation. She's complete with the same humility and kindness that you see on TV all the time. So even though I'm saying it in English, a ellos, al equipo, Andres Cantor, Manuel Sol, Ana Yurka, all of you guys, looking forward to the World Cup with them. And guys, I think it was great. Like, aside from, I thought, and to wrap it up, I thought it was entirely, like, maybe not coincidental, but ironic is the wrong word. But I feel like the coincidence of, like, what are the chances of there being a freaking power outage? Like, someone cut the lights during Leeds Arsenal.
Oh,
like,
it was because they had the same technician that they have Benchwarmers FC has.
There's the memes of Arteta with the light bulb, and that was why the lights went out, because he used it for the exercise. But yeah, the Leeds and Arsenal being postponed for that bit, and then United Newcastle. I don't even want to get into that game and how wasteful that was. But I think it was a great experience. So shout out to you guys for coming through. A few other friends that I saw there as well that I was able to hang out with. So it's great. For anyone who hasn't been to FanFest, we'll wrap up the FanFest talk right now, and we'll talk about the rest of the matches from the weekend that we haven't touched on. But I highly recommend getting to a FanFest if you're close by, even if it's like a bit of a drive. For us, it was like close to like about an hour and a half and change just to get there. Is definitely worth it. At least to live it once is definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. So Nico, you can pull us into some of the other games for the weekend before we get into the rest of the chat for the fantasy stuff and our predictions. And I know we talked a bit at length of Liverpool City. I did just mention, just on the surface, Leeds and Arsenal and United and Newcastle. So maybe we can pull in Marco on the Arsenal game. So you can take that.
Sure.
Yeah. Marco?
So,
for about 40 minutes?
Bro, we'll start off with shout out to JD from EPL Boys. It was a pleasure meeting you, dude. It was fun. I know you're an alcoholic, but you held your own for, I think it was 70 minutes until he finished his 4 beers. He was like, I have to go. I can't hold it anymore. But no, the Arsenal game. One more shout out to Liverpool for beating Man City and that giving us 4 points advantage over City. Now it's 4 points, so it gives us a nice little cushion. Not as what Josue wanted, but actually no, you did. That's what you wanted.
No, I wanted Liverpool and Leeds to win, but for Spurs to stay close to the top 2. So I also. I wanted Liverpool to win, yes, but then I really wanted Liverpool to win after we had that encounter with that one fan.
Oh yeah, so. You did say that day too. But again, going back to the Arsenal game, no, it's hard. It's hard to really give in like a real analysis or a good feeling over the whole game. One, because, like Diego already mentioned, there was a 40-minute delay because of a light bulb that Arteta took away from the tech room and caused a power outage to the whole stadium. I think it was only to the communications of the referees. But there's also 2 other games going on at the same exact time in the exact place that we were at. The Chelsea game
3.
behind us. Well, 3, but the other one really didn't matter. Who knew that fucking West Ham was playing there? I'm sorry, but
I mean, they did have their own section.
Yes, yes. One, they didn't know. 2, they were actually giving. I'm sorry, I'm not saying this, but they were gifted. Like, nobody wanted the West Ham shit. Like, they gifted us merch. Like, you would get 1 each. And when I went up to the counter and said, "Can I have any scarf left?" He's like, "Yes, there's a West Ham one." I'm like, "I already got one." They gifted me that one at the front. At the front door, because that's exactly what they give Josue. So yeah. I felt bad, but that's it. I mean, who knew that West Ham was there? But again, so the 2 other games were the United game and the Chelsea game. The fun part about it was when anybody would score, you would hear their group cheer, but everybody else boo, which was fun.
Yeah,
which was fun. But again, so you're paying attention to kind of 2 games, and then which my game was, the Arsenal game, was postponed for 40 minutes. The minute they start, Man United game is starting to get a little good. And then they go into halftime. We pay attention to the Arsenal game. It's a little slow process where I'm noticing that even though we score in the first, I think 20 minutes, I could be wrong on that, but I think it's the first 20 minutes from from assist from Odegaard to Saka. Saka runs down the flank, cuts in into the 18, and it's strikes
it was in 35th minute.
Okay, sorry, 35th minute. Strikes it into the goal, which doesn't allow the goalkeeper to see it or get close to it. Brings it up to 1-0. But for the rest of the game, Leeds dominated. In my eyes, that's what I saw. And there was a lot of errors on our end. Just for this game, I'm not gonna poke too much holes into this game. I know that this is not something that's consistent. It's a one-off. I hope it's a one-off. A bad game for Saliba. Gabi questionable with his decisions. And I feel that we kind of got lucky. There was definitely a handball where and VAR didn't see it. We got lucky that Gabriel's red card was brought back because he did kick up, but because there was a foul beforehand, that eliminated the fact that he got a red card. And small things like that, I think Arsenal just got lucky, because Leeds were on our ass, and I feel like I don't know if Eric's gonna agree with me on this or not, but I feel like we were playing Leeds' game and not our game. Which is not something you want to see. We saw that at the first half against Liverpool, and then we cut it out, and then Liverpool had to play our game in the second half. This wasn't the case with Leeds. It kind of felt like we played their game. And again, there was moments. There was a Saliba pass back, which caused Ramsdale to get the ball kicked into his balls. He still blocked all the everything, but he blocked everything, and then went to stayed in the ground and said, "I can't. Give me a couple minutes. I need a breather." And then there was a penalty off of Saliba handball, which thankfully Brentford can't shoot for shit, and went bottom right, low to the post, and kicked it away a little bit too wide. Even though I think Ramsdale would have gotten it because he did get to it. Even though he didn't touch it, he did cover that area properly. But still, unnecessary penalty to give out. And again, the kick up from Gabriel was just stupid. But overall, throughout that game, you still had the other two games that you're paying attention, and a Clásico at the exact same fucking time. So it's even harder to even fucking pay attention to it. But as much as I was able to see and keep up on my phone, and the ways we had to figure shit out when we were there. It was still a good game. I give it a one-off, 1-0. It's perfectly fine. It's not our best game. Again, we didn't play our game, but we got the result, which is the important part. And now European competition, because we're not playing Man City this week. So yeah, that's basically it. I don't know if you guys have anything on this game at all. I don't even know if you guys were paying attention to it. I feel like we're paying attention to the other ones, though.
Yeah, there was a lot going on as far as like even trying to see the United Newcastle game, which there really isn't much to talk about for that match. The Bamford miss while we were switching basically areas and how that turned out. I thought actually, like, for me, just even though like I was like constantly moving to like see like over people and around people, just like how you said, like having the Chelsea fans cheer because they scored, and then the entirety of like at least a good maybe 1,000 people in front of them turn around and start booing them because of it.
I was one of the thousands.
Yeah, I thought that it was pretty. I thought that was pretty funny. But as far as the Leeds Arsenal, I really thought that they would probably. I thought that Arsenal were going to have a much easier time, which you had mentioned that Leeds were dominating, but that's really all I have to comment on it. And as far as chatting about United Newcastle and how that went, Josue, I heard you when you were like, "Oh, Trippier free kick. This is going in." So
I did not say it's going in. I did not
yes,
say
you
it's going
did.
in.
Yes,
I
you
did not.
did.
No, I didn't.
Yes.
I did not
Yes,
say
you
it was
did.
going in.
Did.
I said I just said Trippier free kick, and then you turned around, and then you in your thought you heard me say it's going in, and
I
then
mean, that's what you meant. That's what you meant.
No, once you gave me the dad stare, I was like Trippier miss. So I was like, no.
But yeah, there's not much. Fred with a horrendous game. Ronaldo getting frustrated for getting subbed off, and screw Marco because he started suing.
Marco shit, bro.
Yo, he started suing loud as hell, and everyone else started doing that too. As soon as he got subbed off.
It was fun because the small guy, the little person that was in front of us, he wasn't liking the fact that I kept on every time Cristiano Ronaldo would do something, even the goal that he scored, which ended up being an offside. The minute that they called it offside, that's when I started yelling. And I know he wasn't liking it. Like I know that he could hear me, but I just wanted to do it more because it was funny and more. I think like more people were doing it too. Like I wasn't the only one. There was more people in the crowd that were yelling every time they were Cristiano Ronaldo because it was more like a mock than anything else. They were mocking.
You were just the instigator.
Oh hell yeah! But it was funny. Like that's the game. That's the other game that I was paying attention to because I was looking forward. If I was looking back like that one guy in the middle of the field, everybody there's 100.
Oh yeah.
There's 1,000 people looking forward. One guy, tall as fuck, looking back. Because he was
he was a Chelsea fan. He was the only Chelsea fan in the mix of Arsenal, United, and
he was tall, so you could definitely see that he was looking in the wrong way.
I think I made eye contact with him for a couple of times.
I had to see him all the time because he was closer to the Arsenal screen, so I was consistently looking over to him, and I can see him. And I think his friends were also Chelsea fans, but or were in blue, so I'm assuming they're just Chelsea fans. But no, they were watching the other two games.
Yeah. No, that shit was funny because I was surrounded by all you guys. I mean, United, Arsenal fans. But I think, when Chelsea scored, you hear the cheers, we booed, everybody else booed. However, it was so funny when every time Rebecca Lowe or one of the Robbies mentioned Arsenal, everybody booed as soon as they heard Arsenal. Whether you're a United fan, Liverpool fan, City fan, Newcastle, it doesn't matter who you are. All you hear is boos for Arsenal fans because
we hate it.
They're on top of the league.
Of course,
everybody was being haters. That's why.
No respect,
I mean, I know I'm being a hater. Well, I mean,
no respect, but there was a good amount of Arsenal fans there,
though.
There was. I think,
honestly, but at best, I saw 5 Tottenham. I can't even lie.
I saw one with Josue there. I had one to my left.
They played before, so
they played on Saturday.
There was a kid next to me. I think it was a Spanish kid. I saw he was wearing a Spurs jersey.
Yeah.
But after that, I don't know. Like Nico said, a handful of people were wearing.
But there were a good amount of Leeds fans, which and like a very sprinkled amount of Newcastle fans. I mean, including what's his name, Matt Lewis? Is that his name?
Matt Lewis. Yeah, shout out Matt Lewis for taking a photo. Former Neville Longbottom from the Harry Potter movie series.
Yeah, he's a Leeds fan, and he was in the VIP section, and it was cool to see Diego actually chat up with him and get an autograph by him.
He was pretty easy to talk to actually.
Yeah,
and one of the things that was nice to share was that he was just chatting about because I asked him to sign the Panini World Cup book that I had, which we should probably be getting on that amongst ourselves too. And he just casually asked me like, "Oh, who do you think is going to be the winner for the World Cup?" And we started talking about it, and I was mentioning. Just to throw him a curveball, I said, "Oh, I think Serbia is going to be a dark horse." And he's like, "Serbia?" And I was like, "Oh, dang, did I just mess up right now?" But he was cool with it. And then I asked him about his thoughts on England, and then he started just to share this little anecdote with him. He was like, "Yeah, it's Southgate, man. He's just so negative. Like he doesn't get the best out of these players. We have such a golden generation of players right now." And he was like, holy hell, like, and I was like, yeah. And I'm like looking at him and I was like, I bet you probably heard either your parents or your grandparents say the same exact thing about the Beckhams and the Scholes and the Gerrards and the Lampards. Like, how did this generation not achieve anything?
Mhm.
And he's like, that's so true, man. I can't believe that. That's so true. But as far as him, he doesn't. He was like, no, England. He's like, England are terrible. I was like, okay, if you say so, that's fine. You can talk about your own team, your own national side like that. But yes, shout out to Matt Lewis for being an absolute cool guy and gentleman for not just myself, but for several people. He was pretty chill about it. He's pretty chill.
He does need to work on his throw though, because he tried to send a Leeds scarf to the back Leeds fan that was around us, but that shit landed right in front of him.
Yeah,
so I think he should have pulled out the wand and got him Leviosa, like the levitation type.
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool. That would have been a cool little gimmick. I was thinking, who did I say that? Did I say it to you, Nico, maybe, or Marco even? I was like, he should have just balled it up and thrown it.
Telling me, I think I was there when you said it.
Yeah, he should have like tied a knot so it has like some weight to it and then it, but
man threw it like a failed paper airplane.
I think it landed on Christian and Christian had to pass it along.
yeah, it landed right below. Yeah, and so I mean, we can wrap it with as far as like the weekend games, so that we don't go through each and all of them. You had mentioned, Nico, that since there were no Spurs fans because, you know, there are no Spurs fans. But despite the true fact, despite the very true fact that they were there the day before, Josue, how did you feel about Perry Payne taking it to Everton in a 1-0 win?
Well, Harry Kane. I mean, of course, it's a rightfully given penalty. Pickford, the way he is, put his arm out, his head, and tripped him, and Harry Kane put it in the back of the net, like he always does. But I can't really say always does because he did miss 2 this season, both one in EPL and one in Champions League. But other than that, it was a great win against Everton. I wish it was the same day as your games that we went to FanFest. That way, I could have trolled and banter with one of the Cooligans who's an Everton fan. So that would have been fun. But all in all, it was a great weekend for Spurs. Getting the win was good for them because it levels them on points with Man City. Still 4 points behind Arsenal. And so, I mean, it keeps us in distance with the top team right now. So Everton, they played very well defensively. I'm not going to lie. But Tottenham were definitely we're putting up the attack where it could lead to them scoring. A little scared for Richarlison because he did pick up an injury, had to be subbed off in the 52nd minute and walked out of the stadium on crutches. But all in all, everything's okay apparently.
Yes, he tweeted today. He tweeted today that thankfully it was just a scare, and that he's very thankful for all the prayers up and stuff. So it looks like he's going to be out for probably 2 weeks at most.
Hey man, it's understandable for professional players, especially the ones that get called up to their national team, to have that kind of scare. Yeah. Because you already see it with Reece James, with Luis Diaz. Oh wait, never mind, not Luis Diaz. With all these other professional players. So
wow.
Speaking of injuries, and before you continue, Jota, any news on him?
He could be a doubt for the World Cup.
Yeah,
damn.
It's not a hamstring injury. It's actually a calf injury. That's closer to the knee. So so we'll see. We'll see how he progresses. Hopefully, he does get well soon before the World Cup because I will like to see Portugal make it far. And he's a crucial player for the team, I would say. Well, all in all, great weekend for Spurs. I enjoyed it. 3 points, massive 3 points. Now it's time to go against United at Old Trafford on Wednesday.
Yeah, and we can get into the matches for this weekend for on the Wednesday episode. I think we can actually wrap this part up. We can get into the predictions, Nick. I know you selected some matches There is a deadline. There's a midweek deadline because there are matches that are happening tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then we move straight into game week 13. All these games are going to come nice and quick. So, Nick, hit us with your matches to predict for this game week. And then we can wrap it up with a nice little fantasy 10 this time around, just so that we can make things snappy with some notes from our also Benchwarmer member, Gat.
Yeah, so one of the three that I chose this weekend is Brentford hosting Chelsea in London. I think the reason why I chose is because Brentford are usually very good at home, and especially against top 6 teams. They usually always kind of bring it with an incredible atmosphere. So, yeah, let's get started. Dyer?
Sorry, you said Brentford at home to Chelsea.
Correct.
I mean, Potter has been doing really well with Chelsea. Brentford, coming out with a nice win this past weekend against Brighton, his former team. You know what? I'm gonna say they're gonna keep that streak going against Potter's teams. I'm gonna say a 2-1 win for Brentford.
Diego?
A 2-1 win for Brentford?
Yes.
Wow. Man, this one's tough. It looked like, man, just like I think Chelsea, I think this match against Villa, there was a lot of papers over cracks because it was Villa, because it was Leon Bailey and Watkins. And I think clearly Tyrone Mings with that that misguided clearance with the header that just went backwards. Like, how do you even achieve that? I feel like Chelsea got lucky. And yeah, I'm talking down. I hope the Chelsea fans that we know are punching the air right now. Like, what is this guy talking about? But I think it's going to be a much, I hope it's a more difficult match. I'm saying 1-1.
All right, Marco?
Basing it off the fact that Chelsea haven't lost in the past 5, and they've only let one in the past 5, which the last time they got scored on was against the Crystal Palace, where they scored 1 goal, but they still won to get the game 2-1. And the fact that Brentford have won 2, lost 2, and tied 1 the past 5, I'll give it a Chelsea 2-0.
All right. We move on to Man United versus Tottenham.
By the way, I hope everybody knows that I hope that Chelsea loses. I just think they're not.
Yeah.
That's fine. You're playing the game. You're a sellout, but you're playing the game.
I'm playing with my head and I'm on the heart right now. If where my heart was, I said Brentford, please beat the shit out of them.
First, all right. Tottenham. United hosting Tottenham. If I'm not mistaken, my memory serves correct. I feel like United have a pretty good record against Tottenham at Old Trafford.
They actually do.
Away at Tottenham, is it? I think it might be away. But either way,
I think it's in general.
No,
because I know the time when Tottenham beat United. I think it was 6-1. I think that was.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think it was the first time in a while that Spurs beat United at Old Trafford.
Yeah, it's away at the toilet in the past 5.
Yeah, it's away that.
Man United have won 4 out of the 5.
Yeah, sorry about that. But Benchwarmers derby. Let's go with the host first. Diego, what are you thoughts on this game, man?
So the thing here is that I'll give some stats, which also when we see the rest of the bench, hopefully on Wednesday, they can utilize this to aid their predictions. But United so far have won their last 3 Premier League games consecutively against Spurs. And the last time they did 4 was back in 2009 and 2010 between April and October. However, despite Tottenham losing more games against Manchester United versus any other opponent, Tottenham this season have only lost once, which is something important to keep in mind. They've lost just once actually in their last 16 Premier League matches, so they're not that easy to beat. I don't know, man. I think it's also interesting to keep in mind that Harry Kane has scored 5 times in his last 5 consecutive matches. So 1 goal each match, and I think it's really gone on the radar because we're spoiled with Haaland. Martial being injured, Ronaldo leading the line, scoring a hat-trick in this fixture last season. Here's the thing, and I don't want to jinx myself, man. 2-1 United. I'm gonna shut up. 2-1 United. 2-1 United. United have won a lot of their midweek matches, specifically on a Wednesday, for a little side fact. However, it looks like Conte doesn't have a pretty good record against United because he's lost his last 3 against United. So I don't know. Maybe we can turn it back up. I'm saying 2-1 United at home.
And before I move on to Dyer, I didn't get my prediction for Brentford Chelsea. I'm going 2-1 Brentford. Dyer.
All right.
Oh, you're agreeing with me? Okay, bet. I didn't forget that Spurs lost 3 times in a row against United, and all of them have been pretty tough losses. I mean, Cristiano, he's not the same as he was last year when we went up against him.
Scored a hat-trick that game too, right? I remember that.
He did at Old Trafford.
Easy long range one.
Let's talk shit about him. Maybe he does the same thing as
And
then scores a hat trick.
I hope not. And he had a really nice volley goal at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last season. But I might be living in the past, but I can't forget about that big defeat that United had against us.
6-1.
That 6-1.
Okay, hold on. I was hoping that you'd bring it up again because Tottenham's record against the top 6 in away matches, they've only won once, which was that 6-1 game against United in 2020, and the other 19 they have not been able to get a win.
The top 6? How is that possible? We beat City at the Etihad 1-0 last year.
3-2.
3-2. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Diego faking stats.
No, I'm reading it off right here. They've won just one of their last 19 Premier League away matches.
Probably since that result, maybe since the 6-1. Oh, okay.
Well, either way, you know what? I'm gonna just say it because Diego said 2-1 United. I'm gonna say 2-1 Spurs.
All right. Marco?
You know what? I'm gonna go 2-2.
2-2?
2-2.
All right. I'm gonna go with I'm going 2-1 United.
Wow, you hate me.
2-1 United. I feel like they have a decent record against Tottenham, always at home. So
he's a Liverpool fan first, Spurs second. By the way, just a reminder.
You're an Arsenal fan first, and a Leeds fan.
I'm not a Leeds fan. But you see, I picked a small team, so I know that they're not going to go anywhere near Arsenal. You are picking a one that can actually do something against Liverpool.
Like what? Finish above us?
Yes.
That's it?
Is that not enough?
We beat them in the final.
Once, because we've only made it once.
So did you. So I don't know what you're laughing about.
Yeah, well, this is a majority of a Premier League podcast. Last time Arsenal made it to Champions final was 2006.
Excuse me, but we almost won the Europa, which is the better one.
We've won the Europa.
Fuck you, no, you haven't. Actually,
yes, we have.
Years ago, right? Yeah.
I don't think Tottenham have gotten close to I don't think they've gotten even close to the semifinals of the Europa League.
Well, we've won it. We won the final in way back when.
Please.
They've won the Europa League twice.
Was it one that was called the UEFA Cup or some shit?
Yeah, something like that. But still, it's part of it.
Count. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
If that doesn't count, then like 10 of them.
That's exactly what I said. But bitch, we will still be 9 up. So get at me, boy. We'll still be number 1.
I can't talk shit to Madrid fans, but I can talk shit about Arsenal. So
thank you.
All right, last game to predict: Leicester versus Leeds. I kind of forgot that Liverpool West Ham weren't playing, but Leicester Leeds isn't bad. So let's go back to Diego. Leicester Leeds. Leicester, I believe. Did they win their previous game? Who did they play against? Let me check.
They did win.
No, against Palace. Home at Palace. And then Leeds obviously lost 1-0 at home to Arsenal. So, I mean, both teams coming off a not win result. So, Diego, Leicester Leeds.
I'm going to keep it simple. I think it's going to be a 1-1 again.
Yeah, that screams a 1-1.
It does scream a 1-1, especially with Maddison absent because of his suspension. I think Leeds are due a goal, and I hope that Bamford isn't as wasteful if he does take part in this match. Just for some reason, though, I can see Leicester nicking a goal, whether it's through Patson Daka or maybe even somebody else, but I feel like it could be a 1-1.
Dar?
I think it's going to be an away win for Leeds because Maddison is the heart and soul of the team right now. Used to be Jamie Vardy lifetime ago, but right now it's Maddison. And that defensive line, yes, they do okay, but I don't think they'll be able to go up with the attack of Leeds, especially how Leeds was attacking this yesterday against Arsenal. So I'm going to say a 3-1 win for Leeds.
You mentioned Maddison?
Yeah. What?
Diego just said he's not playing.
No, that's why I said he's the heart and soul of the team, and he's not available.
Oh, okay. My bad. Apologies.
Whatever Dyer said, 3-1. Leeds.
All right, I'm going with whatever Diego said, which is 1. And that concludes our predictions for this game that take place midweek.
I'm just going to mention Eric's predictions because he did message really quick. He says 3-1 for Chelsea, 2-2 United and Spurs, and 2-1 for Leeds. And Gat, I don't know where he is right now.
All right, then that concludes our predictions for this week. So let's get into Fantasy 15.
Whoa.
Try to make it a Fantasy 10, actually. I was spending this time checking the stat to make sure that I had read it correctly. And I did read it incorrectly because it is Tottenham have won just one of their last 19 Premier League away games against the 5 other present sides, drawing 7 and losing 11, with the other victory coming against United in October 2020, which was that 3-2 win at the Etihad in February earlier this year. But besides that, it looks like hopefully things go well for this Wednesday match. Getting into fantasy, though, and pulling up how the draft went, just so that we get an update on how we're doing against each other. I'm going to pull up some notes here that Gat had also kindly provided me with for this Fantasy 10 segment. We're going to make it nice and quick. As far as the league between us for the draft, it looks like the results came in I had just beat Nico, who didn't do anything with his squad yet again. So it's a dead win, a dead W. With a score of 36-48. Eric taking Marco for a nice head-to-head match, 50-43, and Gat with the highest score of the week, 63-40 versus Josue. The matchups for this draft game week 12. What'd you say?
That motherfucker got lucky as hell. Mason Mount scoring a brace. Oh, fuck out of here, man. And then Kepa had the game of his life against Villa. No.
Kepa did have the game of his life against Villa. Actually, yeah, the Chelsea boys really came in for Gat in this game week.
Before you continue, what was the scoreline between Eric and I?
The scoreline between you and Eric was 50-43. So it looks like
if I would have had Allison on the field, I would have won that fucking match. Fuck.
Oh yeah, that's right. Who did you?
I had Henderson on the field.
Burro.
I forgot
No,
to swap him.
No, yes, you would, bro. You had an Allison 14-pointer on the bench.
Yeah.
And a Gabriel 8-pointer
yeah.
on the bench. Wow. I mean, I guess I in hindsight, because hindsight's always 2020, I probably wouldn't have started Alisson. You would have expected Man City to maybe score there. And then as far as like Gabriel, I guess you could have probably started him maybe ahead of maybe McAllister. But Brentford Brighton, that could have gone either way, I feel. I don't know, man. That is incredibly unlucky. As far as the fixtures for game week 12, just go over that really quickly. I'm going back up against Gat after he had a nice postponement earlier to save himself. Josue is head-to-head versus Eric, and Marco takes on Nick. As far as the standings, everything remains fairly the same. Eric moves up to third, and Nick and Josue shift downwards to allow Marco to keep his tied fourth place spot with Josue, and Nick is now in the bottom of the table. Josue making a nice rise and then keeping it up for this coming week. As far as the fantasy tips that we have for this game week 12, screw you, Madison, for ruining everybody's plans that just got scrapped up for getting that last minute yellow card for diving on top of that, which is ridiculous. It was like the 92nd minute or something like that. And it really just threw everyone for a loop. As far as the transfers, I'm going to start with that this time around. The transfers that are leading this game week: Salah with over 448,000, in Mount with 414, Trossard with 325 by the time of reading this, Trippier and Tony rounding out the top 5 of transfers in with 230 transfers respectively for them both. The gentlemen that are taking the dive and getting sold en masse is James, who is now injured for the next 2 months, Madison, who got his suspension. It looks like he's the first name on the chopping block. And then remember that Arsenal and City do not play during this game week 12 midweek fixture run. So Jesus and De Bruyne make up the 3rd and 4th spots of sold players, with injured Luis Diaz as well, taking I think 226 managers to let them go. Getting a little bit backwards into what our watch list is going to be comprised of, I would say that some of the names that came up, especially for this point forward, each game week gets us a little bit closer to the World Cup. So this period is very nicely set up to look at this 4 fixture run, which you can maybe take some punts, be a little bit more aggressive, chase those points, and get those players in that you want a high upside to. Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson lead the watch list additions. After being a little bit on the shaky side, it looks like they might have a really high upside now that their ownership is down, and their value could now go up with people bringing them in, as compared to, say, for example, Salah versus the De Bruyne debate. And we'll get on what Gat thinks about that captaincy, which I think is ridiculous, but that's why he provides his own takes. And next on the watch list to mention, you have Firmino. Firmino is going to make a pretty impactful run, I would say, until the World Cup. I'm going to venture out to say that. Disclaimer. It looks like with Jota being injured, Luis Diaz being injured, and Darwin Núñez not picking up his head, Firmino could be the striker or center forward of choice for Klopp during these next upcoming matches. He's really just playing out of his mind. He's on form. And with Nico punching the air with every goal involvement that he has, it looks like he's just getting better. So Firmino is someone to keep on the watch list from now into the World Cup. If you're feeling a little bit frisky and you want to bring him in already, they do play a game against West Ham, who, to Gat's point, they have been pretty well defensively. We'll get into those stats a little bit later. But Firmino is firmly on the watch list. Some other names that have been there, which I wanted to just go over really quickly. We had on our watch list previously players like Bowen and Foden. Foden, unfortunately, is not playing this week, but some of the pluses that we kind of got on there, which I'm pretty happy about. Kepa, with like how Marco had said, had played a game out of his mind. Again, it is Aston Villa, but he did have in to be fair, some pretty crazy saves. I think there was at least 1 or 2 saves that were pretty good. Top drawer, if you want to consider it that. Cucurella didn't really do that great as far as the left center back role, so he may not be deployed there moving forward. They are a little bit thin as far as their options on who to play in there. So hopefully, if he does play, it's going to be in the wing back role where he's best deployed. Doherty getting some returns. Rashford a little bit wasteful, but Bukayo Saka coming good again. Really, this blank for Arsenal and City assets is probably the hardest to navigate, and we're going to get into that. Marco had a really good question about what to do with them. Even though we've been talking about them, now's the time to actually get maybe some pointers on what exactly should I do if I have those players on my team. So I'm going to transition into what we can do with those players as far as how you can set up your squad. It looks like maybe the best thing to do is, if you've been planning ahead and you have 2 free transfers, I think it's best to use those transfers to try to field your 11. If you don't have an 11 to field because you have those Arsenal and City players, depending on how much value you have built up in them, you may even want to consider fielding just 10 and not transferring them out. As I was explaining a little bit to Marco, and for you who is listening, if you have some value built up on these players, if you've had them for a while now, the example of Haaland is actually pretty interesting, because let's say he started at 11.5, and I think right now he's pretty close to, I think 11.8. And I'm going to make sure that that's true before I misspeak. So his current price right now is 12.2. Him starting at 11.5, you're getting half of that value, which of course, great. When you sell them, you'll get that half of value back. But the problem here is that you're going to want these players in your team for after this game week. So to buy them back, you're going to end up spending more, and that just eats up into your team value, which will make it a bit more difficult further down the line during the season to afford the better players. So really, realistically, it's not worth selling these players just to get someone in who's going to play for this game week, and then you got to let them go. There are some people, though, which I had mentioned just a little bit earlier, who did plan for this. So if you have those two free transfers to bring them in, if you still have your wild card and you want to get a little bit spicy with your picks, you could probably even go that route and just rearrange your entire squad to come back for game week 13. And that way you're set up for the good fixture runs, because it's worth noting that even though we've said that for a while now, City and Arsenal have really great fixture runs from now until the World Cup break. It looks like Haaland, Kane, and one of either Tony or Mitrovic are emerging as the popular 3 up top. And it looks like, unfortunately, which pains me to say, aside from Haaland only blanking versus Bournemouth, where he got an assist, he scored a goal, at least 1 goal in every other match since, which is incredible. We've completely overlooked the fact that Harry Kane has scored in 5 consecutive matches at least once. So he's going very under the radar. He comes up against United next, who, in all fairness, could probably give up a goal to Harry Kane yet again. So we'll see how that goes. Martinelli and Saka are looking like a pretty good duo in the midfield. That's someone that I was actually keeping an eye on, as far as Saka still being on the watch list. A better alternative to maybe Jesus up top, just because of their value, how expensive Jesus is compared to someone like Tony or Mitrovic. So you could save that money by downgrading to one of those options. With Maddison out, what do? Do we get Mount? Do we get Trossard? Do we get Zaha if you don't have him? Really, all 3 of those names are eligible for replacements. I think afterwards, though, at least for me, disclaimer again, it's not worth bringing Maddison back in. They do play Wolves, and then their matches afterwards aren't as forgiving. And I want to make sure that I say that correctly before I start just like spewing anything. Their next matches after this game week 12, which he was supposed to play against Leeds, it was away to Wolves, home to City, and then Everton, West Ham to round it off. And like Josue was talking about, Everton have statistically been doing very well defensively. And speaking about defensive assets that are doing well, Jose Sa going under the radar with the most points for a keeper right now in fantasy at 55. Looks like he has a pretty decent run. Wolves assets defensively, you might be interested in actually picking up. Their next 6 fixtures coming up for the World Cup. They play against Palace away, and then Leicester, Brentford, Brighton, and Arsenal, with probably the Arsenal match being one of the fixtures that they can have a higher maybe chance to concede. But they've been pretty solid at the back, as far as Jose saw, getting also that penalty save in this last game that happened this weekend. As far as captaincy shouts, getting into captaincy shouts, what I was saying that guy is wild is that he's questioning whether Salah is the best captain. I think this weekend and this Sunday, those of us that have been suffering quietly with Salah, me with Salah in my draft and in my overall team for a classic fantasy, Marco as well with Salah in his squad, pointing to himself. Get says, is Salah really the best captain? He mentions that West Ham are 5th best for goals conceded at 11.7. The defensive shift for this West Ham side for the Irons sees them a bit tighter at the back. It looks like 11 goals conceded in 10 games. So they're joint 3rd for least goals conceded so far. And that adds up to about one goal per game that they've let in. And then Gat finishes his note saying that Trossard, for him, is the best captaincy at home. So I hope, Gat, that you're good on your word, and I see that armband on Trossard come deadline tomorrow. If not, then you're just trying to mislead everybody, because I really think that Salah is the best captain. As far as the matches and the fixtures, one other thing that I was mentioning to the guys while we were talking about it, it looks like these fixtures really, not many of them stand out as far as which are going to be surefire captaincy shouts. You have a lot of pretty evenly set up matches. Palace Wolves, does someone stick out immediately for who's going to win? Bournemouth Southampton, does someone stick out immediately for who's going to win? It's very evenly matched this midweek, so I think it could really go either way. You can ride on the form for Harry Kane, who's been scoring consecutively. I think even Maddison against Leeds would have been a good alternative captaincy shout, but he's no longer playing. I think the only other match to pull from, in my opinion, would be Fulham Aston Villa, just because Villa haven't been that great defensively. With Mitrovic being back healthy, he could be a nice differential shout for your captaincy hopes. So, gentlemen, don't forget, officially, the draft deadline and the FPL deadline tomorrow. I believe the first game is at 2:30, so the deadline is going to be at 1 p.m. in the afternoon on Tuesday. And the first game is going to be a Brighton against Nottingham Forest, so we'll see how that goes. We'll see how it goes for Trossard and Gross owners and this new De Zerbi ball that Brighton are playing with. But that is everything for our fantasy segment, and it concludes the notes for this week. So good luck, gentlemen, and may the green arrows be in your favor.
With that being said, fantasy.
Wait. I do want to bring one small thing up, please, because you were gonna end it, right, Nico?
Yeah.
All right. So do you want to bring one thing out? I want to do 4 quick shout outs. Shout out to the best goalkeeper. He's from La Liga. Shout out to the young player of the year. He's also from La Liga. Shout out to the best striker, also from La Liga. And shout out to the best player in the world, also from La Liga. So, is Premier League the best league?
Does Allison play in the La Liga?
The best
Wow.
goalkeeper
I mean,
is
listen.
Courtois.
Listen,
the best young player is what's I can't fucking remember the
Gavi.
There you go. The striker is Lewandowski, and best player in Balon d'Oro, Benzema.
Listen, I'm glad.
How does that make any sense?
How does that make any sense? Balon d'Or. Listen. All I did was finish my fantasy bit. As far as Nick finishing the episode, I think it's worth bringing up the Ballon d'Or talk, because how the hell do players like Lewandowski and Gavi,
please Lewandowski,
how like, and here's the thing, and I think they intentionally leave it gray, because is the Ballon d'Or 2022 for the season or is it for the calendar year? Like, I feel like they haven't specified that.
I think it's the season.
I feel like,
could be wrong,
if it's the season, then there's no way. There's no way that these guys, especially in
You don't think Benzema deserves it?
No. And I'm talking specifically about someone like Gavi and Camavinga coming in as second.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fucking trash.
It's a 12-month period.
12-month period.
So the year.
So usually Balon d'Or is held in December, so it's from January to December. So yeah, I guess calendar year, I guess.
But we're in
That's
October.
what this year in this article. The Balon d'Or has traditionally been because obviously the World Cup obviously
that's right. Fuck.
in December. The Balon d'Or had traditionally been presented to the best player over a 12-month period, taking into account performances from January to December.
Of that year, or the year before?
According to keep the take performances into the entire 21-2022 season. So I guess the entire of last season, the entire of it was counted into Ballon d'Or. So they did not account the 2022-2023 season of this year.
Okay.
From August to October. So it's just the entirety of last season from August to May.
Okay. So Lewandowski does fit in because he was in Bayern.
Yeah.
That's why. I mean, I just feel like it doesn't make any sense because the Ballon d'Or went to Benzema, who what position does he play?
Striker.
Yes,
Lewandowski might have scored more goals than Benzema. Benzema scored 44 this season.
I think.
Okay, how many assists from each player?
I think it says striker. It doesn't say forward.
I don't know what that
trophy. It's based on goals. I don't know.
It's probably goal scored in that fraud of a league. You know.
Do they not do the Puskas award anymore?
That's
What's
the best
goal of the year?
not the best amount of goals.
No. I know.
Honestly, I don't know who. I just brought it up because I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny that one, La Liga dominated, and two, there was Barcelona even involved. To be honest with you, so. I thought it was funny. I think Nico, you posted already on our IG that does Gavi deserve it, and if not, then who does deserve it?
Dude, 50% people said yes. I was like, very surprised.
How many
those are your Barcelona fans right there.
Yeah, because they haven't won shit, so they'll take anything at this point. They'll take credit over Lewandowski's achievement, and he wasn't even in the team when he got it.
Oh shit!
It should have gone to Camavinga. Jude Bellingham is a higher ranked player all season, all year. I don't think he should have won. Maybe second.
I think he was only up there because he came on against City and Chelsea in the Champions League. Like he didn't play enough.
He didn't play enough. No.
I agree with that argument.
They're too old for it.
Yeah, but it is 25 or 24.
Yeah, but he's just had a phenomenal season.
I think you have to be 23 years or younger.
21 or under.
But yeah, only reason why I interrupted you was just to troll on this because I thought it was funny. Again, it's a troll. That's the reason why I brought it up. Benzema definitely deserve it. Everybody else can be debatable.
Women's Player of the Year was also from Spain.
Barcelona.
Yeah.
I think they're counting her achievement because again they have nothing. So, but she completely deserves it. By the way, 100%. Again based on Barcelona, I think it's hilarious.
But yeah, there we have it. Honestly, Vinicius 8th. In my opinion, I thought he should have been second. In my opinion, he had more goals and assists than Mane. Won the European Cup and La Liga. Instrumental in big games. I thought he should have been second comfortably as well. But we all know how Ballon d'Or rankings go, at least now. Was that Johan Cruyff thing? Whatever. It's just friends voting for their other friends. So
pretty much.
But Benzema fully deserved. It was probably one of the Ballon d'Ors where there wasn't any controversy. Oh, who's gonna win it? Last year, Messi, the whole Messi Lewandowski thing. Obviously, Lewandowski's Ballon d'Or got canceled in 2020. And then 2019 was Van Dijk and Messi. Only 7 points separated them. 2018 Modric. It's fucking 7 points. So close for Van Dijk. Fuck. But either way, 2018, what was it? Modric, and then Ronaldo. 2017 was Ronaldo.
16 and 17, I think it was Ronaldo.
17 Ronaldo.
One Messi and then two Ronaldo, and then one Messi and then one Ronaldo.
Like I said though, I'm excited to see. It'll probably be dominated by Mbappe and Haaland.
Not Mbappe.
I'm excited. Huh?
Not Mbappe.
Well, it is a popularity contest, so
yeah,
Haaland Haaland has much more. Like Mbappe finished 6th. He had the most goals and assists in calendar year this season. I had of Benzema, I had of Lewandowski, I had of Salah, et cetera, and showing up in the Champions League. So, but unfortunately, his PR just sucks. Like, even when he entered the ceremony, he started getting booing. He started getting booed. Like he has to get out of that league, bro. Not even just for the sake of his career, just for the sake of his PR, because it's in the mud right now. Absolutely. Like if what you're seeing Haaland right now is because he's playing in the Premier League. Like it's a joke. But yeah.
All right.
Y'all know below our rankings go. But yeah, that concludes this episode. Next this Wednesday, we should be back to full video camera, proper mics, proper everything. So staying tuned for the
Wow, this isn't proper. That's crazy.
Well, Marco, let me ask you this.
I give you shit, bro.
This is compared to in person.
It's easier.
It is easier. It is easier. I'll give you that. In fact, easier.
I do have a question. What about the prediction picks? Is it this week?
It's Friday.
This game week that's the last one?
This one that just passed is the last one, but because it's only 4 out of the 6, so we were talking about with Dijk, and he's just gonna do it on Wednesday.
Okay.
The game week stopped with last week's prediction. So this past weekend's prediction.
Gotcha.
This one starts with I would call it season I don't know, chapter 3, season 3, phase 3, whatever you want to call it.
Chapter 3.
Yeah, with all that being said, we are the Benchwarmers. Bench with the voice, where the bench is always warm. Peace, everyone.
Good night.